Welcome, everyone, to another fabulous edition of Behind the Pink Wall. I am your host, Jasmine Jones, co-founder and COO of Cherry Blossom Intimates, an intimates boutique designed with women in mind. And with us today for Behind the Pink Wall, we're having a very intimate conversation in our Survivor series with the beautiful Miss Bonita Parker.
Hi,
How are
you.
you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So we invited Bonita to sit down with us because she actually has a friend who came in to shop with us, Miss Ann, who was quite a handful and a delight. And Miss Ann said, you have got to meet my friend Bonita, who is a warrior through all of this breast cancer that she's fighting, and she's incredible. So I just said, okay, fine, let's bring her in. Let's have a party for her to celebrate her and all that she's doing, and to sit down with her on Behind the Pink Wall. So thank you so much for joining us.
I am just so honored. I appreciate this opportunity so much, and just to, be here. And this space is just beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. That's our goal, is
you.
to make it like a little girly heaven. So I appreciate your sitting down with
Absolutely.
us. So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do, like your elevator pitch.
Yeah. So I am a radical success coach. I've been doing business coaching since 2007.
Okay.
So I've been doing business coaching, and I am also an international best-selling author. I'm a motivational speaker. I speak to women and coach them through uncovering their invisible enemies that have held them back from achieving their greatest and highest level. And so I do that, and I also coach them into turning their passions into profits and just kind of building up their business brand from there.
Wow, that was a perfect elevator pitch. I think you've done that once or twice.
Yeah, once or twice. I can tweak it a little bit, but it is what it is, right?
I love it. And another great thing about you that a lot of people don't know, maybe your invisible thing, is that you're battling breast cancer.
Battling breast cancers. I was diagnosed in December of 2017 with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer.
Okay.
Triple negative. I always got to throw that in there because a lot of people think, okay, it's just stage 4, but they hear stage 4, but they don't know the mythology behind it, the medical diagnosis. And so when you're triple negative, that's considered to be the uncurable cancer, the terminal cancer. But here I am.
Yes. And that was, you said 2 years ago, almost.
December 2017.
December 2017. Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you found out. Tell me the day. Tell me about that.
So I'm going to start a little bit before the day because I think this point is very important. In September of 2017, I was supposed to have my annual mammogram. And that's usually the month that I hold my big women's empowerment conference as well. And so fresh off the conference, I'm, closing out, I'm getting my new clients ready for coaching and everything. So I'm not thinking about the mammogram, like really, I'm just not. I'm focused on closing out. And the next thing I know, it was just like I get a notification in the mail, like you missed your mammogram appointment. And I'm like, okay, I'll call you guys. And the next thing I know, I look up and it's December.
Okay.
And so I was in the shower and I never self-checked. Let me just say that. I never self-checked before. But I was in the shower and you know how you get that message in your mind like, girl, do something. And so I'm washing and something was just like, Bonita, check your breast. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'm washing. And as I'm getting out the shower, I get the message again. And I'm like, okay, let me do this. And so I stand in the mirror and the first place that I touched was the lump. And I was like, wait, that's not right. And so I was like, okay, before I go into panic mode, let me just calm down, let me dry off, let me do this the right way. You're supposed to lay down, you're supposed to put your arm up, and that whole 9. And so that's what I did. I dried off, went to my bed, laid down, and checked. And sure enough, it was there. And I don't know what in me told me that I had breast cancer. But instantly, that's where my mind went because I know my body. So I thought, I'm very familiar with how I feel. And when something's wrong, I go to the doctor or whatever. But for some reason, I just wasn't dialed in at that moment, but something was just like, this is breast cancer. And I instantly start crying. I go into a full out anxiety attack. I'm hyperventilating. I'm weak. I'm just everything. And my honey was downstairs during all of this. And so I just remember crying so bad, like, I got to try to get downstairs because, like I said, I was weak. I was hyperventilating. I couldn't breathe. I was just full out panic attack. And I made my way downstairs, and he was on a conference call. He was on a business conference call. And I literally just like collapsed on him. And I'm just sobbing so hysterically, like somebody just died. Like I just got the word that somebody just died. And I remember him getting off his call, and he just was like, okay, babe, what's wrong? Like, tell me what's wrong. But I couldn't talk. I couldn't say anything. And for about 20 minutes, I'm getting emotional. For about 20 minutes, he just let me cry. And he just held me. And finally, he was like, okay, whatever it is, we're going to get through it together. Like, just tell me what it is. Tell me how I can help. And then I was like, I felt the lump. And I think he instantly knew too. Like, he instantly knew too because he got emotional. And he was just like, okay. And that was the day. I mean, we sat there on the sofa, just embraced, and he let me know that one thing that he said to me that just stands out so much is he was like, I'm not going anywhere. Don't worry. We're going to get through this together. And that just gave me a level of comfort like you wouldn't believe, because I knew so many women prior to me who went through that, who had to go through it alone. So.
Wow, that is powerful.
Thank you.
Okay, so after you discovered something, did you immediately call your doctor?
Yeah, so
Okay.
the next day, he actually jumped into action on my behalf because I just couldn't. We always had this thing where we went to each other's doctor's appointments with, one another all the time. So he was familiar with my doctors and just everything. And so he had all the information, and he made the phone calls and got me in to see my OBGYN. And when I went in, it was like they got me right in. And so when I got in, he discovered the lump, he felt it, and he instantly, my OBGYN, he instantly just started making, phone calls. Like, I need her to have a mammogram like ASAP and yada, yada, yada. And so that whole process just like started. It was fast.
Right. And you went through this process insured?
Yes.
Okay.
I had insurance.
Okay. Can you tell me about how that might have helped you versus had you not
Yeah.
had insurance?
Because with the insurance, well, you already know, doctors tend to not move as expeditiously when you don't have insurance.
Right.
And so because I have great insurance through Care First, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and so they treated everything with such urgency. And I have a friend actually who did not have insurance, and she had a hard time like getting appointments quickly and things like that. And so by the time she actually got like all of her appointments and her biopsies, her mammograms, her sonograms, her, MR, everything, like it had already started spreading for her.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just like, for me, it was a little bit faster. I'll call it, I fell under the early detection.
Okay.
Because they moved so quickly, but it had already started spreading for me as well, but just not as rapidly as hers. By the time she found hers, it was already in her chest cavity, already in her lungs, like it had started moving. And so that's the difference. Like, you definitely need medical care.
Right.
Because it covers everything. It covered my chemo, my radiation, like everything. And I only had to come out of pocket with a copayment.
Okay. Thank God for that.
Thank God for that.
Okay, so that was about 2 years ago. Tell me about your journey after that. Did they have to give you, you said chemo?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that
So
process.
I did traditional chemo, which was 12 weeks of one medication. I can't remember the name of it. I always forget
Okay.
my medications. And then there was 8 weeks, which is 4 biweekly treatments of what they call the cocktail, because it's the Taxol and AC mixed together. So it's 2 different medications.
And these were pills or these were
These were
intravenous?
actual intravenous, yeah. So I had to get my port, which I totally hate. I totally hated that thing. And then from there, after chemo, I had surgery. I did a partial mastectomy and the lymph node dissection. So they took the lymph nodes, did a little bit of reconstruction, a little reduction to kind of even things out. And then I started radiation after that, which was for 28 cycles, so 28 treatments of radiation. And after that, it was just basically the healing process, which to me is the hardest because it's like all of that medication, it gets into your bones, it stays in your system, and even though some people may say, oh, it will leave your system quick if you flush it out, drink lots of water, do this, do that. No, it doesn't happen that way. That's a myth. It gets in your bones and it sets in. Like I have actually been shifted into like pre-arthritis state. I have neuropathy really, really bad. And for those who may not know, it's the numbness and the tingling in your fingers and your toes. So I have that still really bad. And sometimes like my arm will go numb, like depending on how it's positioned. So those are like the after effects that I will probably live with for a long time.
Okay.
But they don't tell you that part.
Right.
They make it seem as if like, okay, it's only going to be while you're in treatment. No, it's still here after treatment is long over. So
Right.
yeah, and I finished treatment in May of 2018.
Oh, wow.
Chemotherapy treatment.
Okay.
I finished radiation in September of 2018.
So explain to me a little bit about your diagnosis. It has a lot of layers to
A
it.
whole lot of layers.
Right.
So, as I said earlier on in the conversation, I was diagnosed with stage 4, triple negative metastatic breast cancer. So, stage 4, we all know that that's supposed to be the end of the end, so they say,
So
the
they
end
say.
of the end. Triple negative is the portion where they don't know what caused the cancer. They don't know where it came from. The hormone receptors don't respond one way or the other to whatever, to medications, to like the estrogen levels and things like that. So that's the tricky part because they kind of don't know exactly how to treat it other than the traditional way. So everybody with a triple negative diagnosis gets treated across the board the exact same way, right? Metastatic is the spreading of it once it gets into your lymph nodes or starts attacking other organs. And so for me, mine's spread it to my lymph nodes, which they didn't catch at first. Let me say that. I had to go back through another series of tests for them to catch it.
Okay.
And thank God they did. But also, there was little sparkles, I'll call them little sparkles on my lungs that they saw. They were too small to biopsy. So we don't know
Okay.
exactly if it is lung cancer or not.
Okay.
It's just a matter of me continually having to have scans, monitoring them, seeing how they respond, and then kind of going from there. So
Okay.
that's where I'm at.
Okay.
It's like, I don't know if I have lung cancer,
Right.
but I'm not claiming it,
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, that's my diagnosis.
Okay. Well, I think as long as we know what it is, then we can
Yeah,
move forward with
absolutely.
that. And that's the best way to attack life.
Absolutely.
And you just have such a positive spirit and such
Thank
great
you.
energy. Tell me a little bit about how the mental part of this is for you.
Yeah, so it was funny because when I first found out, when it was first confirmed, I struggled I struggled tremendously with it because my doctors will say, you're not a candidate for this disease, right? I don't have a family history.
You're very young.
I'm young, you know, and I was medically healthy, you know, so it was like, what's going on here? Why do I have this? So I couldn't come to grips with it. I couldn't come to grips with it, and because I do have such a spiritual connection, I couldn't find myself or bring myself to question God. You know, you always want to go through that, why me? You want to ask, like, why me? Why did you do this? But you can't, right? And so I struggled, and I felt like I was hiding. I started hiding. I didn't want to go anywhere. I felt like people could see it. You know, it's just like, I'm not leaving this house. People are going to see me. They're going to know. And then I started feeling like a fraud. And I'll break that down, because as a life coach, I always tell my clients, be transparent, be authentic, just be you. Don't let anything stop you from being you. And here I was letting cancer stop me. And so I had to become my own patient and tell myself, you know what, girl, like, snap out of this. Like, own your truth, own your truth, own your story. This is a part of you. And so it was my honey, he pulled me to the side one day and he was like, listen, I need you to fight. I need you to get in gear and fight like you've never fought before, like you know how to do this. I need you to be radical. Like, you call yourself radical, be radical. And that just did something to me. And I was like, okay. I woke up the next morning after that conversation, and I came downstairs to him and I was like, I'm going live. I'm going live, and I'm going to tell everybody. And he was like, are you
Live
sure?
on
On
Facebook,
Facebook,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Okay.
And he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yep, that's the only way that I can do this. That's the only way that I can not feel fraudulent in you know, in my story. And so I went live, and it went viral. Like, I think I got over 70,000, 80,000 views and
gosh.
shares and comments. Like, it was crazy. And so many inbox messages, the influx of comments. It was just so overwhelming. But it wasn't until then that I could fight. That it was then that everything shifted.
When you began to speak your truth.
I began to speak my truth. I went around my house, I posted affirmations everywhere, like all of the locations, because I work at home. And so from the moment I wake up, there was an affirmation on my lamp. I get up, I go in my bathroom. In the mirror, I brush my teeth. There's an affirmation there. There was one on the toilet. There was one, like, everywhere, on my son's closet, on the garage door. And I told myself, I'm going to repeat these things every single day, every single day.
What are they?
So it was, I'm healthy, I'm whole, I'm a warrior, I'm healed. I'm healed, I'm healthy, I'm whole, I'm a warrior.
I love that.
Every day until it became true. And it became true.
Oh, I love it. I'm
Yeah.
getting chills. So tell me what's next for you.
Oh, God. So because of this journey and everything that I went through on the journey, everything that I witnessed in terms of support and just talking to women who didn't have support, I started my foundation. It's called the Hope for Pink Foundation. And basically we advocate on behalf of cure for breast cancer and provide direct support services to women who are currently in active treatment, as well as survivors and their caregivers. The caregiver piece is extremely important to me because I found that in my research, not a lot of agencies or companies who offer support pay attention to the caregivers, and they give so much of themselves. I watched my honey like shift his life for me, like totally. Everything revolved around me. And so that's why this piece is important. I have to honor and pay homage and be there for the caregivers. Somebody has to.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And tell me, what do you see your legacy becoming?
I want to be hope for women who don't have hope for this diagnosis, because they tell you that the end result is death, and I'm living proof that it's not. So that's my legacy.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll leave it right there because she has a party happening right now. People are walking in the door, picking up drinks. So tell us, Bonita, how can we find you outside of this? This is fabulous.
So outside of this, you can find me on my website, bonitaparker.com. You can also research the foundation, hopeforpinkfoundation.org. Make sure you put the foundation on there, so it's hopeforpinkfoundation.org. I can be found on social media, on Facebook, the Radical Success Coach, on Instagram at I am Bonita Parker. And yeah, that's me.
And you have a fan club here for you, like a whole cheering section is behind this camera. So we will let you go. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Today.
This was great. I appreciate you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
I love you so much. All right, so thank you guys for joining us for another fabulous episode of Behind the Pink Wall. You can catch us right here on cherryblossomintimates.com every Tuesday. We'll be back with more survivors. We'll be teaching you guys so much more, and we're just so happy that you've joined us.
Absolutely.
See you next time.
Thank you.